Good afternoon. Is it Mr. Klein?
It's Klein, like
Klein.
Calvin Klein underwear. A lot of people
Okay.
confuse me for the Afrikaans Klein.
All right, Mr. Klein.
Klein.
Klein. So sorry. Jean-Pierre.
JP's fine, if that's all right with you.
Jean-Pierre Klein. Yes. Mr. Klein, thank you so much. For your patience, we know that we are running a little bit behind, so we truly apologize for that. My name is Kusela Sangonitiko. I'm the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Communications. With me, starting from the far left, is Honorable Ngubane. Next to him is Honorable Sitole. Next to me is Honorable Bodlani. On my right, Honorable Subrathi and Honorable Mates. Make sure that you are in the right place. This is for the position of Councillor for the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa. And we are conducting these interviews in line with Section 5 of the ICASA Constitution, which outlines the process for the appointment of councillors. Maybe just to kickstart and to indicate, it's now 17:35. We will have a total time of 45 minutes for the interview. I will ask the first question, then we'll hand over to the panel members and they will engage you for a period of about 5 minutes each. Honorable Bodlan is always quick to point out to the candidates that it's 5 minutes question and answer. You have candidates taking the entire 5 minutes and members don't have an opportunity to raise follow-ups. So, Mr. Klein, maybe let's just start off with you telling us about you, your skills, competencies, and the value that you think you can bring to ICASA should you be appointed.
Well, thank you. No apology required for running late. Actually, my first interview in my life. I've never had an interview before. I've always worked for myself. I think that you'd mostly be interested in my career, which started off really, really young. The first job I ever did was in a church, working at a funeral. I earned my first 15 Rand. And then I went into entertaining children as a magician, the College of Magic in Cape Town. And then I went into events. And then I met a European, a peculiar man, who taught me web marketing for the Okavango Delta. Back then when the internet was around, it was one of the first things. I then launched my very first web business, and by the age of 19, I had invoiced my first million, so I've always been an entrepreneur. I then launched Lawyers Online, dealing with law. I found attorneys particularly difficult, and if there are any in this room, I'm sorry, to deal with. And I thought that I could use Lawyers Online to bring access to the general population using technology. I launched Entertainment Online, which was a very natural division for me to migrate into. I stem from the entertainment industry, and it's probably the largest entertainment agency in sub-Saharan Africa. I then launched website hosting, again using technology. I launched website design.co.za. I launched a small property portfolio. I launched a media company. I then went through a divorce. And I found myself taking some time just to write, and I got a publishing deal from Austin Macaulay in London and New York. And then I continued to write, but this time about technology, nature, environmentalism, and business. And I've now become a business and environmental technologist. So there's about 18 subjects which I study continuously through no traditional institutions. And I try to consult with businesses, especially, to use technology and business as a catalyst for change. So I research people, tech, and nature, and then try to build a better relationship between those three entities, more sustainable, more ethical. I've worked in a number of industries. I have traveled to over 100 cities around the world. I've consulted either directly or indirectly with about 300 different types of businesses. And I've been very fortunate in my travels and my work to work with some change champions like Advocate Tiedemann and Seller, Davi Ruert. There's a long list of people I could name drop, but I don't think that's very important today. And today I continue to write, and I'm putting myself through a self-study consultancy, so to speak, and I hope that my legacy will be that of being a change champion. I think that's the elevator pitch.
Thank you, Mr. Kline. Now, that sounds like a very colorful industry legacy culture that you come from, and you now want to move to the other end of the spectrum. Excuse the pun. Other end of the spectrum, you want to be a regulator. Very straight-jacketed type of people regulators tend to be. Why would you think that this would be a natural progression in your career trajectory?
Well, I don't know if it's a straitjacket. You all seem pretty normal to me. I'd like to be where I can make the most difference in the time that I've got. Digital technologies are going to be incredibly influential. There's projects I'm already working on in the sector, and I think that this could be an opportunity for me to enhance the work I'm trying to do already. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Member Bodlani, Honorable Bodlani.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your patience. Really appreciate it. Your highest qualification is a matric.
Yes, which I never even collected because I had started working. So for the first time, I've actually had to go and get it from the Department of Education. So it's quite a thing for me.
And your plans post collecting your matric certificate?
Or
do you have further plans?
To give it to your office.
Perfect. So with everything that you have done in your career,
Yes.
what specific thing has prepared you for the role of an ICASA regulator?
I think there's a buffet of things that I've done which will add value. In addition to the list or the elevator picture that I just shared with you, I've also been involved with media. I'm currently in production and writing 2 shows, so I deal a lot with social injustices. I have also dealt a lot with personalities in the management of radio, and I'm heavily involved with the internet. So that's a big spectrum, but in the studies that I do, which is scenario planning, I study future influences and technologies. So I put those into my plans, and that's really what I have my discussions with corporates and organizations about, on how to use future tech and future innovations and future opportunities to move forward collectively and collaboratively.
The South African Post Office and the situation it finds itself currently. What is your view on that?
I've never used the post office. I've had very little experience with the post office. I did extensive consultation with one of their competitors, and I think that if I was to give some advice on how it moves forward, it would probably be similar advice to what I give to DSTV and a number of other institutions which are running with legacy systems and infrastructure. Are people still going to send post in the future? I'm not sure. The generations that I work with, Gen Z, have never, I don't think they've ever posted a letter. I once got a love letter, but that was hand-delivered. So.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to our member there. My question is that I'm checking your profile. It says you are a cyber defender. I'm trying to check because we have a challenge of emerging technologies. What input can we give it to us to protect our consumers?
Thank you for that. I forgot that's my brand new entity. I launched it earlier this year, officially launched this month. I have done about 7 years, give or take, and part of my studies involve cybersecurity. I'm particularly interested in social engineering, so the human aspect. A lot of technologies don't work because of humans, like AI. We need to perfect human intelligence first. Cybersecurity is the second biggest risk on the global risk index, so it's something I work a lot with. And climate change is another risk. It's the only one above it, and I also work with that. I did some research, for example, on your website and if it was secure and how your forms were working and client feedback, your social media. There's massive scope for innovation and improvement, But if you even go read the social media feeds on the feedback for ICASA, I think that's evident. I'm pretty sure people know what's broken. Cybersecurity in Africa, which is what Cyber Defenders is focusing on, is bringing cyber services to all Africans, multiple languages, and using technology to access them.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Chair. Mr. Murray-Kline. Murray-Kline.
JP is fine. Thank you, sir.
Mr. JP.
Thank you.
Tell us, Mr. JP, with ICASA, do you think ICASA could be more effective if it collaborates with other regulators? If so, which regulators would it collaborate with, and on what collaboration would they collaborate on?
Well, silos are a problem. It's mentioned on your website that you try to break them down, so collaboration is imperative across the board, government, civil society. Yes, ICASA does need to work better with other regulators. Many of them are asking for that to happen. How it would happen, well, I'd have to do my research. The interesting thing for me today, especially being my first interview, was, am I coming into a room of people who would like to keep things the same, or are they open to having somebody come in and maybe ruffle a few feathers? I know what kind of person I may potentially be under the roof, but collaborations are something I focus on with everything I do anyway. I think it's imperative in society. You can't survive without it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good afternoon, Mr. Klein. Congratulations on being shortlisted.
Thank you.
And trying to ruffle up some feathers in the room as well.
Not yet.
And not yet. You did say you are a magician, not a comedian, but I think you got a natural instinct. My first question is a very elementary question. I don't know whether you read the job description, but this is an 8 to 5 job. Do you know that there?
I've never worked 8 to 5.
Okay. So that's the terms of the employment. It's an opportunity to work 8 to 5. So my concern obviously is a very elementary concern. How are you going to manage your very your colorful and exciting opportunities you pursue, including Cyber Defenders having an 8 to 5 job? That's the first concern I would raise. The second thing is, coming into this interview, and I'm cognizant that you mentioned this is your first interview, but ordinarily what would happen, one would research a little bit about the potential employer, and in that course, and you did mention you looked at the website, what's your diagnosis of the challenges that ICASA has? Okay. And the third question is something that's very close to us and has always been, is SABC. SABC, unlike the privileged many, there are many that depend upon SABC to get elementary information, entertainment, etc. And the SABC itself is being challenged. Its very existence is being challenged. And it has got a myriad of challenges. An SABC bill was introduced. So are you aware of the challenges of the SABC? Are you aware of the SABC bill? Can you bring us up to speed with regards to that? Thank you so much.
Thank you for those 3 very important questions. I don't have the memory of a computer. I've got very good, if you know the computer technology, RAM, so I can process information quickly, but my disk space is a bit low, so I'm probably going to ask you to repeat those first 2 questions. SABC, I drive past it all the time. It's literally, I live in both cities, so I've got the smaller offices in Cape Town, and then of course the big one in Auckland Park. SABC's a painful subject for me because I've seen another side of the coin when it comes to the actual talent that it supports. And I've seen a lot of area where more support can be provided. And I have worked on that particular problem from an angle for some time now. SABC, South Africa needs a national broadcaster, and it's a very old institution, and I'd like to see it survive. It's got a funding problem. South Africans don't like to pay for things. Our TV license system's clearly not working. I have heard through the work I do a lot of, I'm trying to be as politically correct with my terminology here, the marketing department has some scope for opportunities or change. I'd like to see SABC probably open up to available resources to share costs. I'd like to see it work with more local institutions, again, also to share costs. But I don't think I think the SABC needs to think about growth, but not traditional broadcasting. It needs to move into the digital space almost exclusively. And the mechanism for that, it's going to be complicated. South Africa can't do, none of our institutions can just go ahead and do what may work elsewhere in the world, because we've got other sensitivities to work around. We've got additional red tape. In some of the cases, the red tape's very, very important. Can I ask, are you asking me how I may improve the SABC?
No, I'm trying to establish your understanding and knowledge, because ICASA regulates SABC, which is a significant player in the ICT market. So I'm trying to understand whether you are up to speed of the current challenges that SABC has. And obviously, when you're familiar with that, then how can we overcome them? And one of the greatest challenges we have is the funding model challenge.
All right. I don't have an answer for the funding model challenge at the moment. I am aware that that is the primary problem. I think the other side of the coin is content. I think once there's good content, people are prepared to pay. And the mechanism that we put in place to get people to pay is the answer. What that needs to be, well, we need to workshop that. Just because we've got technology doesn't mean it's going to work. You've got to get social buy-in, otherwise you'll have the disaster like e-tolls. So SABC must survive. It has to survive. So that's all right. Shall we move on to your second question, which I'm afraid I forgot?
I asked you that, have you researched ICASA? What are ICASA's challenges from your research into the organization?
So I did spend some time researching. A lot of the content that's available is written by ICASA and puts it in a decent light. I went off script and I did some researching of my own. And the light is a little bit less bright, it's dim. And I think that one of the things that I wanted to share today is a lot of the solutions for ICASA to improve are readily available and being shared by the people who are already engaging. Redoing ICASA from ground root levels, focusing on the basics, is what I think needs to happen.
My first question was, how are you going to do all this in an 8-to-5 job, because you got this busy life outside with all these other businesses?
Okay. I've never worked 8 to 5 ever in my life. I've now got my professional life down to probably 11 hours a day with a good gym session in the middle of the day. I wouldn't know what the time requirements are for you. I think to my advantage is I am now divorced. I don't have any cats and I have no children, which is a sad thing for me, but I'm probably more available than most candidates. So.
Thank you, Mr. Calvin Klein. I'm joking, Mr. Klein. I take it, since you have so much time even to go to the gym, that you have read the ICASA Act.
No, I have not read the entire
Imagine
Act.
that. Because I'm going to ask you the question. I want you to tell us specifically what skills are you going to contribute to the board members, but it must be in context of what the mandate of ICASA is, and specifically what is expected of board members. So when you come in there, you're going to say, I am the person who is going to be able to do this for us to meet our mandate.
Okay. Thank you for that question. I didn't read it, but I did get ChatGPT to give me a summary. And I think it got the points across. And it was more of your code of conduct, which I was quite interested in. I understand you're looking for people with a technological background. Everything I have done has been based with technology. You're interested in a bit of a legal background. I've literally launched Lawyers Online, which dominates legal-related searches without ever studying law. I've worked with attorneys my entire life. I am heavily involved with law, especially when it comes to social injustice matters. When it comes to media, I've been on many sides of that table. I have produced, I have helped with funding, I have done proposals, I have tried every aspect when it comes to media, and not only limited to radio or television or the internet. I'm working with future medias. How are we going to consume VR, AR, the metaverse, all these technologies which I believe we will be entertained in and have information shared with. So I think that I've got a lot of the skills which were shared in the document and are needed on the board, in the committee. And I also think I've got some future insights and scenario planning which I can add to the mix. I think we need to look at the future, and that's pretty much everything I do, my scenario plan.
Mr. Kline, you are on the cusp of having to just completed or just about to complete your first interview.
Thank you.
Last
I'm going to phone my mom as soon as I'm out.
Last question from me. So part of the work of the regulator should obviously be to stimulate competition, foster economic growth, basically create a conducive environment, right? I'd like to know what, in your view, if you look at our regulatory environment in the telecoms, broadcasting, and postal areas that ICASA regulates, are there any regulations that you are aware of that you believe hamper innovation, creativity within the sector?
I wouldn't be able to quote any. I'm constantly studying acts, and I always find conflicts. I wouldn't be able to quote which ones off the cuff, but law's not perfect. Laws change all the time. They need to be fluid. It involves consultation. And that's probably one of the first things I would like to do if I get my foot in the door. Meet the people, get proper feedback, meet the industry partners, get proper feedback, and then plot the best way forward and what's priority in the time that I have. My biggest concern was, am I meeting with people who are keen to change ICASA or keep it the same? I work with a lot of government entities and parastatals, and many of the rooms I walk into, they're like quiet people. So that was my concern. But you all look lovely, so that's.
Do you want to respond?
I think what you've experienced today is politics and multi-party at work. That simply tells you that we've put aside our political ideologies. It didn't matter which T-shirt we wore. It was just about getting the right person for the job. And you wouldn't even be able to see which one speaks for which organization. And that tells you how united we are in changing the course of this sector.
And I'm seeing that in a few places now, and it makes me very, very proud.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kline. Housekeeping issues, do you have anything to declare? Anything that could be a conflict of interest should you be appointed? Or anything that if we were to become aware of it would impact our consideration of you for this position?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay, and then thus far, have you found this process to have been fair and transparent?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Members, please give Mr. Kline a hand. he has completed an interview for the first time in his life.
And man, was it an important one. So yes, thank you very much, everyone, for your time.